Hi BookTube! So I'm here to talk about my Gladys Tabor collection. Elizabeth over at Lizzie Faye Loves Books contacted several Gladys Tabor lovers and decided to do a celebration week to celebrate Gladys's birthday on April 12th. So we all are doing our own interpretation of celebrating Gladys Tabor. So I thought I would share with you my collection along with how I stumbled upon Gladys Tabor. For those of you that don't know, Gladys Tabor wrote like short stories for different magazines and wrote some fiction, some novels, along with, at least from mostly what I've known her for, is her Stillmeadow series, where she lived in like a small rural area and so just talked about her daily life there, like very like quaint and comforting. And that's what I go to Gladys Tabor for, is just this nice cozy read, and nothing I've read from her has ever disappointed, whether it's been fiction, nonfiction, or her short stories. So as for how I found her, if you look at my shelves here, if anyone ever pays attention, I have a lot of nonfiction books, lots of like nature related books. And so years and years ago, I found Sally Carragher, and this book, for example, One Day at Teton Marsh, it's focused on one day at a specific location, and it's just following the different animals, about their daily life. And then I read other books by Sally Carragher where she talks about herself and her journey. And speaking of journeys, I then moved on to Edwin Way Teale, a famous like nature writer, and this is Journey into Summer, where him and his wife go all around the United States during the different seasons. There's like 4 books in this series, and he goes to different places and talks about what he finds there. And then I moved on to Hal Borland. This is Country Editor's Boy, and it has a similar feel. At least like the cover, because there's one in my collection here, like Country Chronicle. This is like the yellow cover and everything like that with these little spot illustrations. And Hal Borland was actually mentioned in Gladys Tabor's books, and I found Hal Borland first before I found Gladys Tabor. And he wrote a lot of seasonal books as well, like just following the year, and he lived in a similar area as Gladys Tabor. So those books led me on a journey to finding my own Cape Cod by Gladys Tabor, and she had a summer house on the Cape. And I feel like if you go into bookstores, at least in my experience, I most often find this one more than any of her other books. All of her books are out of print except for Spring Harvest, which is one of her novels that I found out through this week. People are talking about how they found it at their library. So you can actually find it on ebook. That's the only book of hers that's readily available. All of her books are out of print, and most of them are written, I feel like, between the 40s and the 70s. But they're all worth the effort to try and hunt them down. All of these books I just found at my local used bookstores. Whenever I go to a used bookstore, there's always some authors in the back of my mind I want to look for, and so luckily I've stumbled upon quite a few that I'm going to share with you. I didn't pay more than I think $15 for any of them, but online they can be very pricey. Like some of these I found for just a couple of dollars, but I will pay up to like 15 or 20 for them because they're so hard to find. But they're always worth the effort to see if you can hunt them down. So this was my start with Gladys Tabor, and all of her books have illustrations. This one actually has photographs. Let's see here, of different, this is the author's house, Still Cove. And then there's Still Cove from the Mill Pond. And so she just like talks about, and this goes through the seasons. It starts with spring and just goes throughout the year. And it's just like, just look at this picture. I don't know, it just feels so peaceful. I've never been to Cape Cod. It's on my list of places to visit. And books like this, it's a great way to journey to places that you've never been before, or to remember, those vacation spots where you have gone. So speaking of Still Cove, I have a sequel, Still Cove Journal. And this is edited with an introduction by Constant Tabor Colby. And here's the author on the back. I can't forget to show you the author, Gladys, and her cat, Amber. And let's see here. The drawings are by Georgia Dearborn. Some of these books have a variety of illustrators. And there's several that, well, I can't remember his name, but we'll get to it in a bit. But most of them are like ink, black and white illustrations. And find you one more. So this is following the seasons. And this one starts in April. So they don't always start in January. It seems to be like whenever Gladys picks up her pen to start writing, is when it starts, when the book starts. Okay. So then going on to her fiction, because I've divvied these out into kind of like categories in a way. So we're going to start with her fiction. Spring Harvest. This is a book I'm reading right now, actually, for this week. And this is the one I was mentioning that is available, at least at my library, as an ebook. And this seems to be based on, or inspired a bit, at least, by Gladys Tabor's own experience, because she had experience in the academic world where I think her father and her husband were involved in that. And then she grew up, at least for some part of her growing up years, was at like a college atmosphere. And so this follows people, like students at the college, the professors, the dean, and like a music teacher, and like all of their different wives, and so how they're all experiencing and just going through this time in the spring, and all the different things that they are facing, all the different troubles that they're all facing, but you know, they're just trying to get through the day, and I'm really liking it so far. And then I also have read 101 short stories by Gladys Tabor, and this one is, if they are pulling short stories from, let me see here, because she wrote for a variety of magazines. So there is McCall's, the Saturday Evening Post, Woman's Home Companion, Ladies' Home Journal, the American Magazine, and so yeah, that's mostly what they're pulling from. Like, it seems to be from 1937 on through 1956, and this edition is from 1966. So yeah, these just like very quiet kind of short stories, and they were a delight to read. And then I have Especially Father by Gladys Tabor, and I'm wondering, since Spring Harvest felt so much like an inspiration from her childhood, I wonder if this is based on her father. I haven't read this one yet, but it says father's feud with the state park superintendent that almost wrecked the summer colony, the Tea Party, where father shot the pine snake, the incredible trip to Mexico when father became mixed up in a silver mine, Mama's triumph in the affair with the missionary, the vacations in the incredible automobile, the wonderful days at the college where father taught geology, the epic chapter where the whole family meets after many years. So I mean, from what I gathered, this was fiction, but I'm just wondering, because the father taught geology, and then also in Spring Harvest, one of the main characters is the father teaching geology, or he runs the geology department. So this might be nonfiction for all I know, but just from flipping through it, it seemed to be fiction. But again, I haven't read it yet, so I'll have to report back. Okay, so now going to these like other category books. I have the Stillmeadow cookbook, and this is from the 60s, and it includes a picture on the back. It's saying it's the fireplace in the family room at Stillmeadow, built in 1690. It makes a pleasant center for informal meals. And so just look at this old fireplace. But this picture just like cracks me up, like the way the food is presented and everything. And then the inside, the cover is lime green. So it just screams 60s. But I could kick myself, because when I purchased this at a used bookstore, they had another Gladys Tabor. There seems to be 2 or 3 different cookbooks that Gladys Tabor wrote, at least 2. And I could have kicked myself because the other one was sitting right there and I didn't grab it. But oh well, I'll find it on another day. But how this is designed is it goes through the different categories, like your salad, your soups, your breakfast, and so on. But along with the name and the ingredients, and then the recipe instructions, every single recipe includes a comment from Gladys Tabor on her thoughts. So for example, for Anne's chicken with blue cheese, Gladys Tabor's comment is, "I am a cheese addict, but I like blue cheese better in things than just in chunks or crackers. I love blue cheese dressing, as in Kay's salad dressing and Llewellyn's goop." Both of which are somewhere in this book. And I like my Anne's chicken with it too. So let me flip to another one. let's see, for curried eggs, her comment says, "This has been a Stillmeadow favorite for years. I make the yolk mixture very creamy. My quarrel with regular deviled eggs is that they taste good, but can be rather dry." And so then the other one, eggs mornay, is if you leave a little of each egg yolk showing, the eye appeal is greater. It tastes the same. So I need to cook from this. I know I just did a book haul talking about these other cookbooks that I picked up, and I just need to do these like author companion cookbooks and showcase some of them. So here's that one. And then speaking of our cat Amber that I mentioned, I have a bind up here of Amber, a very personal cat, and conversations with Amber, and here she is. And this one also has some illustrations. Who did the illustrations for this one? Let's see. Does it say anywhere? I'm not seeing it. I'm thinking who it's for, but yeah, I'm not sure who did the illustrations. But there's plenty of this cat, and there's also photographs. This one says, "Amber makes any sea or landscape look better." Let's see if I can find one more. Amber enjoys TV, weather reports mostly, and Herb Alpert. I have no idea who that is. Here's another one. So for those cat fans or cat owners. And then this other one is very interesting. I found this a month or so ago, and this is all about grief. And it's not what you would normally connect with Gladys Tabor, for her cozy, comfortable atmosphere. This is called Another Path. And it was saying, because I haven't read this one yet, but it's saying that it's about Gladys Tabor. She lost a lifelong friend that was struggling with an illness. And this is about her getting, processing the grief. It says she writes about loss, about faith in the scriptures, about living with the grief on a day-to-day basis, about practical cures for depression. It says this book is as satisfying as a warmly personal and reassuring letter from a treasured friend. So I'll have to find the right moment to read this, or maybe when I'm struggling with something, to go to this to find that light, through a dark time. Okay, so now I'm going to be jumping to the Stillmeadow books. Like I mentioned, she lived in a small, rural area, and she wrote about, just her day-to-day life through the different seasons. So most of these go through the year. And so I have went through all of my editions to start with the oldest book going to the newest one. But I have an additional book here, Stillmeadow album with photographs by Jock Shepherd. And here she is with a boy. She says, "Gladys Tabor refers to Erwin, a 14-year-old neighbor who brings her the mail and shovels her snow, as my boy." So there they are there. And then there's different quotes and pictures of different areas of her house and throughout the different seasons and whatnot. And here's a child with one of her dogs. She had quite a lot of spaniels, cocker spaniels. And here's the old fireplace that was covered in one of the other books. In the cookbook. And so here's I think it's Mill Pond. Let's see. And here's another child. So she had lots of friends and family around. And so yeah, this was a nice find. Okay. So now going to the proper Stillmeadow books. I have a few that don't have a dust jacket. And so this is one of them. This is the Book of Stillmeadow. And for reference, I'm not going to go through all the dates of these, but I thought I would share the oldest to the newest. So this one is from 1937. This book is from 1984. But let's see, who did the illustrations for this one? Edward Shenton. He did a lot of the illustrations through most of these books. So let's see if I can find some illustrations. Here's one. And so this is following let's see, what month does this start with? So they all start with a different month. Let's see. So this is going to start with November. Snowy November. Then we have Stillmeadow Seasons. And who did the illustrations for this? Edward Shenton. This was interesting because there's a green font, and then there's the green headers, and in this, the first letter starts with the green. So I think it's like very popping along with the cover here. Okay. And I got this as a library edition, and it actually has the card. It's from 1968. From what library is this? The Mary Hurst College, the Schoen Library. But yeah, you can see it has 1968 there. So it's in very good condition for being a library discard. There's no like stamping that can be annoying, like saying discard here or writing or anything. Then we have Stillmeadow Daybook. I think the only other one that doesn't have a dust jacket. So I can show you some of the illustrations here. And this is, again, following throughout the year, starting in April. Stillmeadow Sampler with illustrations by Edward Shenton. And this is one I recently found. And then Sonia with an I was talking about how she discovered Gladys Tabor through finding this book at a library book sale. And I was like, oh, I need to put this on my list to read for April. So I'm going to be reading this later this month. But I did love this cover. It's just like that cross-stitch sampler pattern. And so there's illustrations in here as well. Just following her day-to-day life. Stillmeadow and Sugar Bridge. This is Gladys Tabor and Barbara Webster. This is like a letter collection between the two, and they both had, you know, remote hometown, houses. And Barbara has a giant, just one, whereas Gladys Tabor has many Cocker Spaniels. Barbara has just one giant dog named Duke, and the dog is just, how she writes about him is just hilarious. He's just a goofball, and it was just a delight to read. And so here is Gladys Tabor with her Cocker Spaniels, and then here is Barbara with the Great Dane Duke. So this was lots of fun to read. And here's some more illustrations, and also it has pictures of their house. So this is Stillmeadow, and then there's also Sugar Bridge, where Barbara lived. Let's see if I can find you some pictures. So here's Barbara with the giant dog up to something. Let's see. One of the Cocker Spaniels. So we have books for cat lovers and dog lovers. The Stillmeadow Road, again, with illustrations by Edward Shenton. This one is a bit rough for wear because these are so hard to find. If the book itself is in good condition, I snap them up. But if you open it up like this, you can see it. There's some holes in here. But I really need to get some just a plastic covering for this, and then it will hold up. And I really need to get that sooner than later, so this doesn't completely fall apart on me. Stillmeadow Calendar, a country woman's journal, and this is illustrated by Sidonie Corin, so a different illustrator. Let's see if I can show some of those illustrations. This is going through the year, and it tells you the this is interesting. Instead of having a list of table of contents, it has it in a sun wheel here, like, so what page does January start on, and so on, which is a different way of doing things. And so this one starts in January, like you would think these yearly books would start with, but I like that, how some start in April or November or January and what have you. We have Country Chronicle, and this is illustrated by Pamela Johnson with a photograph of the author. And this one has notes from the person who owned this before me. It says, read a second time in October 2010, a third time in May 2016, and a fourth time in May 2020. 2020 would have been a good time to read Gladys Tabor, that's for sure. Let's find. And on the back here, there is more notes from the previous owner. She noted different recipes that are in this book. Like page 86 has cheese balls. So let's go to page 86 really quick. Because I wonder if she's referencing the cookbook, or if they're actually in, because I don't remember there being recipes, and there's not on page 86. But yeah, she does make reference to cheese balls, and so she's made this, the reader is making notes for different recipes that she wants to get from Gladys Tabor. And then she's books to own, My Own Cape Cod, which I mentioned is the first book I read by her. And then, and she's also mentioning different authors that she would maybe possibly like to read. Oh, no, these are authors that Gladys Tabor herself references, and Hal Borland is mentioned on here, along with Beverly Nichols, Hamlet, and Keats. Beverly Nichols, I've never heard of her before. I'll have to look her up and see if she's at all similar to Gladys Tabor and Hal Borland. So I love like these old used books with notes like that, where it's not obnoxious highlighting or, you know, random scribbles. This kind of thing is very interesting. Oh, and there's a bookmark of sorts in here. This is saying, what is this? From Stillmeadow and Sugarbridge, and talking about these are different authors. The Nine Tailors or Sailors, by Dorothy Sayers. The Cane Mutiny. I do not know the author. She must be taking more notes that are possibly mentioned in this book here. So yeah, this is fun. So here's some illustrations. Okay, just a few more books. The Harvest of Yesterdays, My Years Before Stillmeadow by Gladys Tabor. As I mentioned, I ordered these going from the oldest published to the newest. And so even though these are prior to Stillmeadow, this is one of the later books. So that first one I think was late 1930s, and this one right here is from 1976. And this is the one I have read. Who did the illustrations for this one? Pamela Johnson. And instead of going through the years, they're different chapter names. And so Live Forever, different things like that. Let's see. And this is just going through her life prior to owning Stillmeadow. And then the last book here is The Best of Stillmeadow, A Treasury of Country Living by Gladys Tabor, edited with an introduction by Constance Tabor Colby. And this is a collection of most of the books I own here. I think I own almost all the Stillmeadows. There's just, I think, one or two other in the series that I haven't read. But let me see here. So I know there was a list here somewhere where it tells you the books that are included, like in different passages. So yes, here we go. And I think I own all of these. Harvest at Stillmeadow, The Book of Stillmeadow, Stillmeadow Seasons, Daybook, Sampler, Road, and Calendar. So yeah, I think I own all of those. Yeah, I do. But it's still nice to have it in a different edition. And something to, like, if I want to pull out different passages or chapters to pick up something like this. And just get a new perspective if you read, a compilation of like all throughout these years, these decades, to have it all in one is handy. And there's actually a note on this one as well. This says, especially you have enjoyed living in the country. That's an interesting sentence. Okay. But then there's also a quote saying, they say the country isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. Like finding joy in life's simple pleasures, the thrill of a morning sunrise, a lazy afternoon spent in the company of golden light. Maybe that's why many of us find country living so appealing. And then there was notes on the back of it, this as well, for the different recipes. This might be the same owner as this other book. I can't remember, because I find these books, like I said, wherever I travel or wherever I go to a bookstore, I always see if there is any Gladys Tabor. So they're well worth the effort. And I haven't gone far outside. I haven't bought any of these on eBay or Amazon, because you never know what edition. I mean, how they'll come. Because I have bought a few books online, not Gladys Tabor, a few other books, and I'm never happy with even buying a new book from Amazon. I've bought one or two, and Amazon just throws them in a box and they just rattle around. So when they come to me, even though they're brand new, there's like scuff marks, or like the edges are like a little bit like peeling back on a brand new book where it should be like flat, or it's just frustrating. Or like or not a paperback, but a hardcover, the dust jacket can be damaged, which is, it's very frustrating. So I have just found these through looking at, like I said, the random used bookstores I stumble upon, things like that. And they're so fun to find. And even though I have quite the collection here, like if you could see, I'm surrounded by Gladys Tabor now all over the floor. But I know there's several more that she has written. I'm just so happy to have found an author that's just consistently reliable for a good story or a comforting read, and to know there's many more to find. It's just a delight. So anyway, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.